If you or your friends ever made models or played tabletop war games as a kid, you've probably seen a site like this, a box of extra parts. And if you're modifying these figures, a box of extra parts is a great way to quickly add interest to a character. Well, in this video, I'll show you how to use a digital parts bin inside of Google Sketchup to save time and add interest to your designs. In previous videos, I've praised SketchUp for being an intuitive way to invent shapes. So if you're focusing on the invention, don't waste your time drawing doorknobs, ladder rungs, and handles. If an object was designed to be used by humans, it's probably filled with these common parts. In fact, if you take a look at some big piece of machinery or architecture, it's these common parts that help you relate to it. Like the way that all these ladders share a similar structure. I can look at them, and even if I've never seen the object before, I know that this is where I climb. SketchUp allows you to create digital parts bins, and in SketchUp language they're called component libraries. And if you remember from the last video, you know what a component is. And I like to separate these libraries by design language. So I've got one for European castle design elements, one for classical Greek, and then this one here is mainly just modern industrial mechanical bits. So let's say I'm designing this piece of factory equipment. I'll keep my modern industrial bits open. And this way I can just pull parts out and lay them straight into my document. Each of these bits is actually its own SketchUp file. So I've been slowly creating new parts to add to my collection. Maybe if I'm getting frustrated with some illustration that I'm working on, I'll step aside and take a half hour to just make some bolts and connector pieces. It's pretty brainless work, and the internet is full of photo references for everything you'll need. And it's important to keep these objects simple. You see that even though this is a cylindrical form, it's pretty segmented and low poly. This is because it might end up being very small in my final model, and if I have, say, 30 of them, I gotta keep my polygon count down so my computer won't slow down and start lagging. But the beauty is, as this library begins to grow, when I sit down to design some piece of factory equipment, I've got all these pieces ready to go. So let's take a look. So standard workflow I like to do for roughing out a quick mechanical object is to make the primary shape first, just out of normal SketchUp modeling, and then I'll start adding on the areas of interest with these detail bits. So for instance, a ladder, I can drag right on here and attach. And you notice that it auto-orients itself to the surface that it would appropriately hook to? Well, this is a great feature that SketchUp adds for these components. You can set it up to sort of know which way it's supposed to sit, like how a window might only exist in a vertical surface, and a floor mat might only exist on the ground. But a ladder might happen on a diagonal like this. So when I built this ladder, I told it how to function. And it gets even cooler when you have certain objects which will cut into surfaces. So you can see this actually as a bit of a cutaway. And then if I move it, there's no hole left behind. I can also scale it and make a copy if I want. So to say this workflow only saves me time is really just the beginning. Repeating common elements like this across a set of designs helps to reinforce design language, which is to say, just keeps things consistent, almost like they were built in one factory. It's a great way to add believability. So if you're going to make these bits, make sure to make each one nicely. Because if done properly, you'll make it one time, and then it'll be in your parts bin forever, and you'll never have to modify it again. Because if you were to spend, say, an hour up front making a really cool antenna array, it might save you 10 or 20 hours down the road if you have to design a whole bunch of probe droids or communication towers. So this is a great way to front load some work and reap the benefits down the line. So if you use SketchUp, I'd love to hear what kind of parts bins you've got going. Architectural features and mechanical doodads are pretty obvious. But I hope that one of you can wow us in the comments with some unusual collection that you've got going. And as usual, thanks for watching.